Welcome, everyone, to Nothing Less Than Extraordinary. I have my beautiful friend Cindy Lozon that's here today, and I'm super excited to introduce you to her because it's her first time on a podcast. So please welcome Cindy.
Hi,
Thank you for being here, Cindy. So, our topic of
thank you for
today is
having me.
you're so welcome. Cindy is actually in India right now, right?
Sri Lanka,
Oh, Sri Lanka.
just below.
Just below. Thank you. It's a good thing I asked. I was like, oh, wait 1 second. So today's topic is going to be on our relationship because it's a podcast on relationship and a whole bunch of different things, but our relationship shapes our existence, and that could be pretty big as a topic. But we're going to see that topic in relation to Cindy of traveling the world and discovering herself and her intuitive ability. Is going to be a fun discussion. So let me do a brief intro of Cindy. So, Cindy Lozon is a psychic medium. She communicates with the afterlife. And this term here, I might screw it up. It's called Akashic reader.
Yeah, it's Akashic Records reader.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you for that. And she's a tarot practitioner as well as a digital nomad. Over the past 8 months, she has traveled over 7 countries and 19 different cities. Congratulations. Using
Thank you.
travel, you're so welcome. Using travel as a tool for both self-discovery and spiritual growth. That is quite a journey where a lot of us
Yeah.
can't actually say that. If some of us get to travel once every couple of years, we are lucky. So we're going to learn a whole lot. So before we get into that, tell us a little bit of your experience. So what in your life actually caused the shift for you to want to travel, to do the spiritual connection with yourself, and then really honing in on your craft of your psychic medium?
I would say that the journey started because we wanted to attend a workshop that was in two parts. So the first one was in LA and the second one was in Kauai, in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And we just started from there. So that was the only thing that was planned. And afterwards, we were just like, we put everything in storage. We don't have necessarily something to come back to. So let's just continue. And we followed the signs, our intuition, and ended up in Japan and going to 7 different countries afterwards.
Hmm. So what about that first spiritual like training that you took that really kind of woke in your spirit and said, okay, let's do this. We want to really follow our intuition and really just go with this journey and guide and kind of find out like what it's all about.
We went to that place, that workshop, because we wanted to connect with other spiritual people. So we wanted to, and when I say spiritual people, I just mean like people that also have this desire of growth and spiritual awareness and everything. Like everyone is spiritual, um, at the basic of it. And it didn't really happen like we wanted to, but we were looking for something.
Mm-hmm.
So it just naturally became like, okay, since we're here, like, where can we go next? Like, what can we discover? And at the end, it was not necessarily meeting other people that we were doing, it was meeting different part of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we ended up going to that many places.
That's fantastic. And you actually wrote a post about that, how the awakening of what you self-discover was quite scary. So take us to that
Yeah.
experience because I'm sure a lot of people who is kind of in the search for themselves, in search of meanings and purpose, can actually relate to this.
Yeah, it's very hard because when you decide to travel the world like that, you have no idea what you're going into. And moving that frequently, and when you're doing energy work, you end up connecting with the earth, with cultures, with people, with different food, and everything is information. So
Mhm.
when you travel and you're even more aware of all those things, every energy that you consume, whatever the way you do it, becomes way more like intense.
Mhm.
Um, by example, we started the journey with Japan after Hawaii. And I never put a foot in Asia before. And we've been in Asia for like 6 months now because we just only stayed the first month in America. Hawaii is not really America, but you know.
Mhm, mhm,
And it's been 6 months in Asia, and I never thought I would get out of my comfort zone like that.
mm,
But it was out of my comfort zone in terms of places to stay, food to try, culture. When you have to read everything with your cell phone because you don't understand anything that is written everywhere,
yeah.
it's very challenging.
Mm,
And then you connect with the land and you realize there's so much energy here and you're trying to understand that. So it's a lot of small death and rebirth experience.
So, talk to me about the death and the rebirth experience, which is a lot of journey for a lot of people when they're trying to change. I mean, it can mean many things for many different people, but what does it mean for you, that death and then the rebirth of Sydney?
Uh, I I love that because that made me realize so much things and it made my life so much easier to not attach myself to every little death that
Mm,
we're going through.
yeah.
So for me, death is a transformation, not an end. So our body is made of plenty of cells that die and regenerate itself constantly, and we're just not aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
So when we fear something and we decide to go through that energy anyway, so when we have challenges and we're like, oh no, that's out of my comfort zone. So like, let's just not go there. But when you challenge yourself and you decide to go, the fear you're experiencing is your body telling you something inside of me will die because I'm going to leave old pattern behind and create new ones. And I don't want that because the body doesn't understand what is the rebirth as afterwards. And it's the same when we're talking about, I'm also a medium, so I connect with the afterlife. And in that context, the physical death is just a change of dimension.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very death is just a transformation. It's not the end, infinite, absolute end of something.
I
That's
love
what it means to me. I love that subject.
It's very interesting. Can it be like you can dive in for a long, long time with that? But what I really love the way you describe it is that it's just a transformation. So death can mean many different things for many different people, leaving behind old life, leaving behind old pattern. I think a lot of it patterns and different habits that we have, and then shifting into a new mindset, a new transformation. Um, and I kind of see it the same similar way too. I call it growth, but different meaning for different people. But I think that's what it is that it triggers you to shift the way you see life, the way you experience things, and to take you to a new, different level of consciousness and spirituality. So talk to me about how you discover your psychic ability through that process? Did you always had it as a kid? Did you discover that later on in life, or was it through an experience, a travel, a training? And you're like, ooh.
It actually, I think I was doing some type of work like that when I was a kid, but I didn't realize that I was actually tapping into something.
Hmm.
But it really started in 2021 when I started questioning everything. I made so many decisions that took me out of my comfort zone that I created that new path for myself. And I would say that what really triggered it is when I took a naturopathy class. My grandma was sick and I just wanted to help her. And I ended up really transforming my body to be more receptive to everything that is outside. So like cleaning your body is making it like flow the energy. So you're able to perceive everything that is around you way better than when you're all struggling with your own energy and your chakra are unaligned and
Yeah.
your stomach doesn't digest food correctly. So when you're able to just do that small cleanup, for me was something that really triggered everything.
Hmm.
And I just started naturally receiving messages, seeing orbs around people.
Hmm.
And now I know that when I see orbs around people, it means that they're a company. So there is a spirit and entities with them that support them or want to give them a message. Um, I started seeing things that were not there, but when I was coming back, it was there. So seeing things in advance. There was many like little things like that that was so interesting, and I was like, okay, I want to do this. It's
Yeah.
fun, and I relate to that. And when I started talking to that on my social media, I had friends from elementary school that wrote to me and were like, "Hey, you fit so well in that environment. Like, do you remember when you were doing the witchy thing and whatever?" So bringing back memories.
Hmm.
So it just made me realize when we tell people like we connect with your inner child to know what you're supposed to do, what did you like when you were a kid, to like find your path again, it just clicked. It was it.
Fantastic. That's awesome. And it's so funny how you didn't do this for yourself. You started but wanting to do something better for your grandmother that you're very
Yeah.
close to, and then you start discovering and you're tapping into a calling that's within you, a voice that's there, but you never really dared to explore it. And I think what can you tell people who may be kind of like terrified? Because it can be scary when you get this type of experience, like, and then what can you tell people, like, how do you start exploring that? Like, let's say they have a nudge and they're like, I should look into this, but I'm not quite sure because it could be, very terrifying. It's outside of my comfort zone. Any word of advice for people?
Uh, I would say that uh, we attract every obstacle that subconsciously we ask for. So if something happens to you, it's because you want to learn from it and you created it for yourself. So we all came on Earth knowing that we're going to have an experience, and it's some of it is already written. So if you attracted it, it's because you wanted to live that experience. As I said before, just looking at death and fears as transformation can help move forward and take decisions that we wouldn't have before. And I would say to be authentic to yourself, because at the end, we're living an experience to have fun. So when you're being yourself in all of those little experience and you see it as the eyes of a kid, the fear just goes away. Like you can see kids going in trees and like super high, and you're freaking out, and they're just having fun, and they fall, and they're like, "Okay, I'm gonna die. I'm not gonna die." It's well, that's funny, but at some point you will. But I mean, it's the experience itself that is fun. It's like thrilling. So I would say that there's nothing to be scared of.
Mhm. Yes, once
Yeah,
you get to that other side, so you start to see
yeah.
there's so much more beauty. It is scary at the beginning. I mean, I think you were scared and terrified, and even on this journey as you're traveling around the world, there's still a lot of component of unknown and discovery. But that's what made the whole experience really interesting and so much like life towards it, right?
Hmm.
And I would also like you to expand on this too, like, when you were going through that shift in 2021, and then you're starting to discover, I'm like, I really like this stuff. Like, I really want to experiment it and test it out. So, like, how did you take the step, like slowly? What are the little things that you did to start to explore and then, going on social media and then declaring you're a psychic medium? It's kind of scary, right?
Yeah, it took a lot of um, confidence, risk, and a mix of discomfort because I started by joining a psychic development circle. So we were practicing many different things. And I would say that the one that really attracted me was mediumship. So when I started in the class, giving mediumship reading and like just receiving information that clearly I couldn't have known,
Mhm.
uh, there's that little ego part of me that was like, oh, that's actually cool. And that's one of the worst things because you're kind of trilling on the information you're going to receive. But when you're expecting too much, it becomes a bit the opposite. So you end up like wanting so much evidence to prove that you're actually doing it that your head is just embarking, and now it's like, oh, it's harder to receive messages.
Hmm.
So I would say that being confident can be a good and a bad thing in that
Hmm.
area. Um, Outside of that, I I would say it's really the mediumship that attracted me and made me go online too, because I was doing tarot at first because people are more familiar with tarot, is more secure. And then I just decided, let's go. I'll just say that I'm a medium now and let's find out what happens.
That's awesome. Congratulations. I know it takes a lot of courage, so I'm so proud of you. And I wanted also, because the thing is that because not everybody has that ability. So it's one thing to follow a talent, a nudge, an urge, So, um, like I'll give like a really brief example. So, when I was a little child, but genetically, I think every single one of us as kid have the ability to connect to our sixth sense. Some of us lose that ability for a different situation, like grown up in an alcoholic family, grown up, being beaten, sexual abuse, different things. So, we get disconnected to all of those sense. And some people just have that ability to connect to another dimension very rapidly and very quickly. And then some of us have to find our way back. But we all have that ability because I truly think that we are a divine being in a human body.
Mhm.
And so, like, as we go through that journey, like learning to let information download kind of comes into you. What is your best way of doing it? Like, for example, for me, I don't really call on these different ability. I just get it genetically. I just learn over the years because I had that ability as a young kid. Like, my mom is extremely gifted, but hers to dream through voices. And I can see my own kids when they were younger, their capability of being connected to another force energy that I can see because I'm so connected to that. But there was a point in my life where I was terrified of those type of ability because I thought that was made me odd, made me kind of didn't fit into societal things. So I didn't want to be an oddball. I wanted to fit
Mhm.
in. So, did you go through that kind of similar experience and then just kind of going like, no, this is what I'm meant to do and I want to explore it more. I want to tap into that energy. Take us through that journey for those who might be going like they might have an ability, but they're kind of scared and, declaring it to others, it's terrifying. Like I never talked about my ability. Like I don't know what kind of ability I have. I just call it my sixth sense. I just know that I have it through dreams and I can see into the future, but it's nothing that I could possibly just say, let me just sit and then call into my, the one thing that I do have is a cheat code I find, which is always I can always know my future either 6 months, a couple years ahead of time. Like I'll just get a voice from my ancestor that just gives me a script of like these are the different struggle you're gonna go through. They don't really tell you the detail of what it is. They're like, this is a struggle. It's gonna take this amount of time. You're gonna hurt about this amount of time. Success comes at this level. So I feel like I have a cheat code because I know what to expect. I know how long the pain's gonna last, and then at the end, it has a final outcome that I can reach. So it's like, ah, okay, I can do that. Makes life a little bit easier than when you're in the unknown. It's like it can last like an
Can I
eternity.
borrow your ancestors?
I don't know. They just come. Like, I don't even call on them. And it's so funny because I was telling my boyfriend, I was just sitting next to him yesterday, and whatever feelings and energy, happy or sad, he sits next to me, and I just absorb his energy and I can feel it vibing into my body. And I was like, this is what you're feeling right now. Like it's shaking in my body. Like, stop it. He's like, okay. Like, I don't have to do anything. I can digest certain food. You just absorb it through my body. I'm like, yeah, I don't know where this is coming from. It's so weird because I don't want to have the taste of food that you're tasting because that's not what I chose to eat right now. But yeah, those it's just weird things, odd things. And I
Hmm.
entertain with that. But tell us about you, like how you had to go through that process.
I would say that I actually had fun doing it. So it was something that I always loved the paranormal. We had some spirits when I was a kid at home, and we went through some terrifying things. And learning about how energy works and how your own vibration is going to attract something similar. So you can experience something very bad if you're in a really good vibration. So there's some knowledge of physics, quantum physics that I learned that helped me not being afraid.
Mm,
And I would say that there's many practices that I went through that made it very interesting. Um, Something that, like everyone is able to access that type of work or energy or receiving guidance and messages. But not everyone wants to develop them and do something with it. So that's the difference
yeah.
between most people. But everyone is able to communicate with their guides, going to their Akashic records, or even talking with their past loved ones. Everyone can do it. Some exercise that I was doing is you were talking about the past and future that you receive messages, and that made me think at some point every night I was speaking to myself, but from the morning. And I was telling myself what's going to happen today. So, like a topo of the day so I can start receiving messages in the morning from myself, but later on. And it actually worked. I was waking up in the morning and I had that inner feeling, intuition of what's going to happen today. So that's a practice that really helped me
Mm,
because it made us realize that time is not something that is real. So
mm,
everything is kind of collapsing, and that exercise was making it like evidence. It was like, okay, that makes sense now.
mhm.
Also, dreams can help. Everyone dreams. So
Yeah.
if you go to sleep and you ask an intentional question before going to sleep, either you're going to receive the message during your dream or at night, or you're just going to wake up the next day and having naturally more clarity about what you ask for. So you can practice that. So it's not something that you do once and
Mhm.
you can have all the details about what you ask for, but it's small activities like that that I was doing that slowly started like provoking those abilities. And developing our intuition is very, very important. Understanding the different clairs so you can perceive something through your third eye as images. You can hear things, you can feel like you do.
Mm,
There's so many clairs that you can practice regularly to improve them and to understand them. So maybe sometimes you receive an information and you're just like, oh, I feel attacked. Like, what was that?
mhm,
But when you practice them, you're able to understand what it is and just be more comfortable with the information you receive.
mhm.
So there's less resistance when you understand what's happening. So it's more easy to receive clarity.
Hmm. And so, like, for people who go, well, how do I know it's actually intuitions or a download versus my own creation out of my head? So, how do
That's
you help
the
them?
question that comes all the time.
Hmm.
At first, you don't. I didn't,
Hmm.
but with time, when you receive an information and you feel like you kind of created that, and that how can I say that the outcome, it's
Hmm.
something that you can create. It's really different when your mind is involved or when it's just come to you. It's a bit like if you're on the highway and you just have a feeling, I should get out there, and you end up getting out, but later on the highway there was an accident or something, and you would have been stuck here for 2 hours.
Hmm.
That little voice was not something that your mind created. It's something that you just received the knowledge and you decided to follow it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we receive messages like that hundreds of times during a day, but we're just not aware and we're not listening to them.
Mm-hmm.
So starting to notice all those little messages and just go through your day with more consciousness, you're going to start receiving the different information and just discovering that you receive way more than you think in reality. So just being conscious during your day, because we're usually very on a autopilot
Mm-hmm.
and we're just doing everything like every other day. So going through different mindsets during your day can help you develop and just start creating that spiritual energy that you can tap in.
Those are very, very good, simple things that people can do. I think like one of the way it's like as you have more data, you're able to compare what is made up in your head through the logical and what it's really just information that's given to you by intuitions or download.
Mm-hmm.
One way that I actually discover or practice my ability. At some point, I think I was like maybe 27 after I had my daughter and started having this, like taking this more seriously because the intuition was actually able to save me so many, like hanging out with wrong people, not wrong people, but like people that were not good for me, like doing in a business transactions or colleagues or stuff like that, that were not good
Mm-hmm.
for me. It saves me so much time. Like I don't have to spend time with people. I can just detect them, see them, feel them, got all the data in a short amount of time, and then make my decision and move on. So I realized, ooh, this is kind of interesting. I don't have to take days, months, weeks, years. So then I started exploring that ability by, so one of the things to do that people can really try to do is like each person is different. You just have to play around. It's collecting data over the experience. You know what is logic, what is not, and what is intuition, what is download. So many different forms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what I did was I have the ability, I can ask questions. Let's say, for example, I can ask a question about different things that I want to know. But the way I tap into those energy is it has to come from a really pure heart. It's not a heart that needs um like I need information right away. I need to make money. It's just like I am just asking because there's a trust. Actually, there is an alignment like with the universe, me and the universe, the spiritual is one path. Like I just feel this line, it's one path. And then I ask a question. I'll just ask random thing, like say, for example, will I make like, I have a program that's launching in high ticket within the next 6 months. Will I have success with it? And like, where should I go? Like, and then I would get a download. You would get like a feel. It will say something like, oh, you want to take the tackle, like this approach from here. And this connection with this person would actually be optimistic, like good opportunity. You want to explore that more. So there's never a clear defined thing, just a descriptive. So whatever comes to you, note it down on a piece of paper, and then don't look at it right away. Put it aside, leave, rest, play, and then come back to it. All of a sudden, what you wrote on a piece of paper, just write everything that you feel because all of that will actually mean something later on to you when your mind is relaxed, when it's actually at a space that it can receive on the actual, like when you just did it, you'll read it, you're like, nothing makes sense. You're like, what is this shit? But when you kind of rest it and leave it aside, you come back to it, all of a sudden there's connection, there's symbol, there's things that just your mind, your subconscious, your higher consciousness actually sees and detect that the eye cannot see or hear. So that's one way that I do it. But I used to play this game where, and because we live in Rigo, so there's on one side, on the right side, there is the IG, on the left side, there's the Metro. So I would play this game with myself at the time. Didn't have a whole lot of budget for my family, so I needed to buy things, foods, or groceries that were on sale. So, like, say, for example, I needed steaks, 4 steaks for my family. I would ask myself, like, oh, which Metro or IGA would actually have the steak on sale this week? and then I would just listen, and then it would tell me which store has whatever things on sale. And I used to test it. I was like, I'm sure it doesn't even know what it's saying, this intuition thing. But 99.9% of the time, it was always right. And the time when I didn't listen to the answer was the time when I went to the wrong store to buy whatever was not on sale. So I was like, okay, so if I can pick
Mm-hmm.
out what thing was on sale, and it starts simple, you start playing it. It's the playfulness. It's that
Yeah.
ability and the ability to not judge what comes to you. You're like, it's an all-knowing type of things. And then if you have a mind that allows the channel to filter in to come, you're not skeptical by it, then it will flow like a river easier. But if you have a mind that
Mm-hmm.
it's not connected to this thing, it judges it, it blocks it. So,
Yeah,
you remove the
definitely.
block over time, right? So then when I became really good at asking these things, so I start up high, like leveling up my thing, my ability, and then it's with people, it's with different events. So what I did like recently, not recently, because I don't tend to ask these things. I ask, like, let's say, and usually it's when I'm in trouble or there's something that I cannot tackle on my own with logic, my ability. I do know as a little kid, when I was very, very young, I don't know who whispered the voice to me, and it may sound like a little bit crazy. And I don't care if people really judge it's crazy or not. As long as it serves me in my life, I really don't care. And that
Crazy is fun anyway.
yeah, that's it. And honestly, it's just like what Cindy said, is living your authentic self, living by the rules of yourself, your essence, not by somebody else's rule, by society. I know it's hard, it's very difficult, and it's still a learning process for me. But what I'm saying is that if you feed that inner child, that playfulness, that curiosity, you'll tap into who you truly are and what you're meant to do on this earth. But what I was trying to say in short was at a very young age, I was maybe 2, 3, and it was just a download, like somebody's voice. But this one, I think it wasn't my ancestor's voice. It's like coming from the heavens. And it just says to me, you're gonna do amazing thing like in this life. It'll be big things. But then you'll encounter obstacles, different things, and we will not help you. That is just a we. We will not help you. It is up to you as a human in this human body to figure it out on your own. And only when you've given your true all and you really have no other way to, you can ask and call us for help.
Mm-hmm.
And this voice has always served me because there's a time when I went through my divorce. I did everything in my human power to make it possible, as smooth, less affecting of my children as possible. It was a really dark place for me to be. And I just broke down in the middle of the sidewalk and just bawled my eye out. It's not my normal habit. I have a lot of pride of not crying. Like I would cry by myself and I could cry in bed and you would never hear me. It's something that I've learned with my mom because she used to cry and it used to break my heart because I would sleep next to her, but she used to cry about different things and I can hear her body because I feel the vibration and stuff. But she is so good at crying and you don't hear any noise. So I've learned unconsciously to cry without making noises. So for me to cry out in public, just like, tears just falling. And then I asked the universe, okay, this is where I'm at. You promised me that when I've given my everything, that you would guide me. And you know what? All of a sudden I dried off my tears, and then I get a download of the solution. So what I'm saying is that if you are open to the channel and you are not judging the process, play little games, little things, test out. I don't know, like just random thing, like let's say I want to predict something, just write what comes to you and then later come back to it and just like, what does that mean? And just have this mind of like, oh, I'll just kind of pretend to predict something and see if it happens over data time. You're like, oh, so I really do have the ability. This is for me. That's where my talents are. What do you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not magical either. I mean,
Mhm.
you were ready for the next step when you ask that and you stop crying. And our spiritual guide are not there to remove any obstacle. They're there to remind you that there's an obstacle that you chose and
Mhm.
that you have to surpass it to get a better version of yourself and better stuff in your life. So you have to listen, but not in a, you were also mentioning that you can try to manifest things, but if it doesn't come from the right place, it won't work, or worse, it will come to you, but you'll lose it afterwards because it was not something that you were meant to experience in that moment. And if
Mhm.
there's other lessons to be learned, you're gonna have to go through them anyway because it's part of the process. You can just magically create something for yourself. You have to learn from every experience. And our guides are there in many different forms to help us to remember that. So mine are really funny with me. They love to send me in different places, and we've been on that journey. It happened a lot, actually. And they were telling us, okay, you're supposed to go there and have fun. And over there, it was not fun at all. It was just other lessons because I was not learning from the past one. So they
Mhm.
were like, you're going to have fun learning again. So it's funny because you want stuff to go faster and you think that because you're able to connect with your guides it's going to be easier, but no, and sometimes they do the opposite. They're harder with you because they know you can go faster than most people, or
Yeah.
that you're striving to learn and evolve, so they're like, okay, you want that, it's going to be hard, let's go, you can do it. So
That,
challenges are very intriguing.
yeah.
It's it's a fun experience. Like where it's a hard process. Uh, no matter what you're experiencing in life, going through different experience and learning is always hard because you have to detach yourself from something you were identifying yourself with.
Yeah.
And that process of deciding, okay, I'm letting go of this and I'm going this way now. It's it's scary. It's always scary.
So talk
I
to
love your stories. You're a psychic too. I didn't know that.
I don't know that I call myself a psychic. I just call it sixth sense. Because I'm like I come from this background. My dad is extremely skeptical as a person, but he's always told me there are people who have these special powers because he experienced it in his own life. There was a neighbor next to him. She's a psychic medium, but she only does it. She doesn't read it for everybody. She only read it to people who are meant to be read. And he has absolutely zero interest in this thing. He's a guy, like on the left brain, and needs proof all the time. But he's gone through enough things in his lifetime that tells him there is other spirits, different things that exist that cannot be explained through logic. Like one example, my grandfather used to be a monk, so they would go. My grandfather would ask my dad to go through a chanting of like liberating spirits that are stuck on this earth so that they can go and find a safe path to cross to the other side. So my dad, as a little kid, would chant. He speaks this other monk language that I don't understand because he learned it through his dad. But I always find it so amazing. So he told me there is another type of dimension, world, path, spirits, and stuff like that, even though he has a very skeptical mind. And so I know, but he says there are very few that can do it. The ones that says they know, they do, and all these, and those ones, like you just have to be careful because you have to know. And just because I have this ability, I can always tell when somebody is credible, credential. I've gone to scene, like it's funny because I was telling my boyfriend in a very short story. When I moved here, I was single. I had nobody. I was bored. My kid weren't with me. It was a rainy day. And one of my good friends, she's a psychologist, and she said, "Oh, I went to see a medium and she predicted me about like, random thing." And I'm very, very hard to be convinced of this ability, even though I have the sixth sense and I know some people have it. So I was like bored. I was like, whatever. I paid $20 to go and her reading stuff, and I can tell that she was just reading and saying things based on what she was looking at me because I'm Asian, and she's like, "Oh, your kid must be super intelligent," and you blah, blah, blah. I was like, none of this shit is really anything beyond that I could tell myself, you know? And
Yeah.
and like, she was asking me about cards. She did astrology, she does numerology and just prediction of different thing. And at the time I was trying to write my book and I was asking, should I write my book and all of that stuff. Anyway, so I answer it so fast. I think like our reading took like 20 minutes, which normally she takes about 45 minutes with somebody. And she's like, "Oh, you're so fast in the way you answer things." Like, one, because I didn't believe in what she was telling me, but it was entertaining because I'm always a curious mind. But I do have to say that sometimes when you do this ability, you do these reading, there are certain downloads that are messages that are meant for you. Even though this woman was not a psychic per se, but she maybe changed life and helped some other people that they needed guidance because there are so many people that are so lost and need some kind of a guidance, and there is a message meant
Hmm.
for them. So it was worth my $20. A lot of shit that she said about my love life made absolutely no sense. Like, at all, but it didn't matter. But she did said something that was profoundly that was a good key for me to keep in mind. And so that was a beautiful gift. And it was an information through her that needed to come to me. And she said to me, Re,
Hmm.
with regards to your ex-husband, you know, if you're not going to be able to change the pattern, you're going to keep attracting other men's with the same narcissist, different pattern that you're going to get yourself in. And then she said something about my heart being a heart that's overly giving, will always give too much of herself, whereas I need to guard it. So that piece of information was the life-changing information that I needed through a $20, not a real psychic. So, so that was really fun. The
There's always a reason.
exactly. There is so many different things. And like one of us that through our lady, Madame Huneau, Lorraine, like that we
Hmm.
and that you guys seen too. Lauren was a really funny because she's a neurologist and an energy work as well, and she is a real one that when I met. So anyway, I was talking to a friend and we're talking about business. Has not I'm not asking for astrology. I'm not asking. I don't believe in neurology, neurologists, and any of these things. I don't need any of those reading for one, and she's made like very good in her business. She's tapped into the millions and stuff like that. And anyway, so she all of a sudden blurred out Lahan Uno, and I shout out to Lahan because she does amazing work. So thank you, Lahan. And so then she said, "Oh, you should go see Lahan." I was like, "Oh, in my head, I didn't say nothing. Like, if you believe in it, great." And I just said, there's no way in hell I'm going to see this so-called person. I don't care. You make your millions, great. Good for you. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And then, the conversation finished. I had an amazing time with my friend. And then that voice, my voice, the voice that keeps talking to me said, you should go see Lauren. And I was like, I don't know who Lauren is. I don't give an F about Lauren. And great for her that she's doing all these things. But my ancestors' voice never let me go. They harp and harp on me in my brain for 2 goddamn weeks, every single day, morning, afternoon, evening, and it just gets louder and louder and louder. I'm like, after 2 weeks, I was fed up of them. I was like, you know what? God damn it, stop whispering in my brain. I will go see this so-called person just for entertainment wise. And then when I went to see Lauren, I said, listen, I don't even know why I'm here. I'm only here because some intuition tells me it's my ancestor that tells me I should come and see you. And honestly, I don't believe in this shit. It was straight out.
Well,
First thing with Lauren, she's like, "Oh God, okay. So what are you doing here?" So I was like, "I don't know. I have no idea. I'm supposed to come and see you, so I'm gonna entertain the whole idea." And then the things that she said that nobody could have known about my family, about my childhood, I was like, okay, maybe this woman's onto something. And then I also had to listen to my intuition as she reads different things. I was like, this woman can actually help other people. I don't know her gift, her ability, but she's one of the real ones. So then from that moment, I kind of let things go. But yes, that's how it kind of works out. But in short,
Mhm.
is that when you go through this journey, I think it's important in life, just like anything. I see life as a big game, an illusion of everything that we are to experience, whether we succeed, win, go thrive, different things. Each person has a unique gift, a unique ability. Your person is perfectly, and it's so hard. Like when I look at my daughter who's 14, she's going through her teenage age, and I want to tell her, baby, you are beautiful and perfect just as you are with your talent, your gift. And then even if I know these, and I say this to a teenager, they're like so messed up in complete chaos of their identity. It will not mean anything to her because she cannot see her own gift. She has to go through the journey to discover herself through that
Mhm.
process. But I want people to remember as you get older that you are amazing as your person. And I'm so proud of you, Cindy, for exploring that for yourself, for tapping into that energy, to honoring your inner child, to honor that little kid that had that ability to be able to do all of these things and you have fun with it and you kind of lost touch and you're coming back to that. When you honor that inner child within you, what you do is you tap their energy and it is very magical. I do have to tell you that for me, every whispered, every dream that comes to me, everything feels extremely magical. And the ability to manifest, which I don't know how to do it properly, I just know I have to do it from my pure heart and it comes. Honestly, when I manifested for my career, when I manifested for my car, when I manifested for my house, I just ask, and then what's meant for me will come to me in the time it's supposed to come to me. And I think it's I've always think that when you open the channel and you believe, like what you said about confidence, so it ties into belief and faith. So when you have that ability to just believe that life in its form of the human form and your divine being, you have all of the answer. You can't see with the physical eye, but your spirit, your subconscious has this other ability to do things for you. And once you get connected and authentic and aligned, that's when you really know, oh, this is no longer logic. It's actually a true download that is happening as of right now. It's just that
Mhm.
gift you can filter. It's just like policemen when they go and solve a criminal, like a mystery, they just know. Like a lot of people, soldiers and stuff like that, they're actually teaching people now how to tap into their intuition because you can take all of the learning, the training, the practice and become resilient, become buff, become extremely indestructible. But what saves you life is the intuition. And that's why a lot of soldier, a lot of policeman, detective, they're learning the craft of how to tap into your intuition. It's just, it saves you so much time. And every time that it happens to me, I always feel it's a magical gift. It really is. So, what do you think your gift is? Like, I have this ability to do the sixth sense when I want to. I get download, I get things, and I always feel like I get a cheat code, which makes life so much easier. But doesn't mean that life is not full of ups and downs. I have these moments of ups and I have these moments of down. But what I do know with my intuition is that life truly, and if you believe that, it will be, life is really meant, like it's working for you, not against you. Every hard moment that takes place in your life, it is about to elevate you to a next level if only you embrace it.
Mhm. Yeah. You can also train your subconscious because you can't manifest something you don't believe in.
Yeah.
And that's way deeper than your mind. We're
Mm.
not talking about believing in your head, it's believing in your pattern. So if you grew up with parents that are poor and always telling you you can't afford that, you're growing up with that patterns of telling yourself, I can't afford that. So if you try to manifest something, it won't work because you still have that pattern inside yourself that you're not even aware of. So that's actually what the Akashic records can help too. It's how how to go. Akashic Records is like a library of all the information that your soul is connected to. So it can be your soul mission, it can be your soul contract. What did you come on earth to learn as a soul? The karmic relationship you have. So, what defines a relationship with someone? Is it someone that is supposed to be there for a small amount of time and you learn something and then they just disappear of your life? Or is it someone you're going to be for the rest of your life with? And it's also connected to your past lives. That's the funny part, the fun part of it. That's
Mhm.
what made me interested at first. But what trauma or what karmic imprint are still vibrating in you that you're not even aware of? So when you have like unexplicable fear and you never had to face that thing in your life and you're just like, oh, I'm scared of that, but I don't know why. Usually there's a past life connection to that fear. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but Akashic Records is something that can go deeper in the unconscious. So, and we can make sense of things that doesn't make sense.
I love that you share that with regards to that ability, is that it's like when you go through this journey and when you're kind of like in this process and you, because thank you for explaining akashic, I don't know, like
Akashic.
akashic, yes, thank you. But your past life and different reason. And I believe like whatever you believe determines. And when you believe, like she said, not through the conscious mind, but there's a subconscious and the um higher super consciousness. Um, is that I don't know what all of that really means, honestly. I just know the soul has to be able. So each person has a script that works for them. Whatever term you use it as, there's a term you should follow for sure. But let's say you don't know the term, like I don't know. But I do know
Mhm.
one thing for sure, what works for me. And go with what works for you because each person has a different sauce that really works for them. And I'm the type of person is, as a kid, my dad always told me, your mind is a powerful tool. If you tap into imagination, the ability to imaginate, to see possibility, to allow, to open the crack of possibility, then you gate flood it. All of a sudden, that small little hole becomes bigger and bigger, and you open it. Just go with that. Like, do you? I will always tell people, let's say Cindy says this is her ability, mine is something. Don't try to be us, okay? Like tap into what
Mm-mm.
we were just saying to you, but go with what always has worked well for you. That's your gift. That's your ability. That's your gateway. And I'm the type of person of like, you know how sometimes you sit and then you get like déjà vu, you know things, you're like, I've seen this before. I do believe there is that. But I'm also a type of person who believes that in this lifetime I can make whatever I want. I life past collapse into one. I don't know all of them, but I do know one thing that I'm such a powerful divine creature that whatever I believe is what I attract in. So whatever works for you, find that path. But the most important is be happy. Like Cindy is chasing her thing, trying to find that out. You chase that happiness, you raise your vibration. When you raise your vibration, you are actually taking yourself to a different level. The same things when it comes to attracting love, relationship, career, and wealth. When that vibration is no longer vibrating at a lower frequency, it gets to a higher frequency and you radiate in that level of joy, of gratitude is a big thing, and you elevate to another level. You change your mind shift. What your mind cannot perceive, the soul can actually take you elsewhere. And that's the beauty. You just follow it. There's no judging. When you follow, when you let serendipity, when you let coincidental situation happen, it's beautiful. And I always tell my boyfriend, wherever I'm supposed to be is exactly where I'm meant to be. Whatever I'm going through is exactly what I need to learn. So he at first, like when we first dated, he was like, "This is so weird." It's like, we were going like he's working now at the bank, RBC, right? But when we were going looking for a job, I was like, this is where you were meant to be, babe. And something in our interaction and meeting will lead us to something that will lead you to doing touching money. He used to be in construction and mechanic, completely two different world, you know? And then I go in there and I'm having fun, I'm connecting with people and all of that. And comes out, he's now working at the bank. Is that you just never know what situation leads to the other. And I have this magical that I believe, because I believe this, it attracts us into my life. I believe like in my life, I have a beautiful relationship with books. When I have a hard time, books and movies. When I have a hard time, like when my sister passed away, I was in so much grief, like so much pain, and I couldn't sleep and I couldn't do anything. And I asked, show me, heal me, show me a sign so that I feel better. Not that I wanted to get rid of that grief emotion, but I just wanted to feel okay. And since I have this belief that I have a magical ability with movies, that a message through the movies will give me the answer that I'm looking for. And you know what happened? I'm not even judging. I turn on the TV. I rarely watch international film. I happened to watch an Indian film about a king and two sisters. He was married to two sisters, both beautiful in their own ways. One sister could bear a kid. The one that he loved the most could not bear any kid. And the love stories between these two sisters, and then they have other people, other women that wanted to marry the king, but all for like greeds and money. These two sisters are the only pure soul that really loved the king and wanted what's best. And the younger sister, it was so funny. The correlation between the two sister was so beautiful, and that brought me peace because what happened was the younger sister representing my sister, and I'm being the older sister in this movie, the connection I made. So the king favor this particular wife, but she could not bear kids, and they had to go through this process, and she finally falls pregnant. And the younger sister, rather than resenting her older sister, overjoyed for her sister and the love that they had together. And even though at the very end, like the bad girl, like tried to separate the king from this favorite wife of his, and there's all this journey, the two sisters stayed in love with each other and respect each other, and the king saw through the whole facade eventually. And as weird as I didn't understand the whole thing, but what I understood from the story was the love of two sisters, even though we are two in two different worlds, she's in a different world universe as I am, we can still have the love that is forever undying. And so that
Mhm.
brought me peace in my life through movies, you know, like that's how I love my sister. That's how much she loves for me, that no matter, even if physically we are not in the same space, we are still, this love will never die. And then that gave
Mhm.
me a solution to finding the strength to continue healing, to creating this business. So, anyway, long story winded, but go with what feels good to you. Tap, practice. And I want to be able to honor Cindy as well for sharing the story. I wanted to ask Cindy, what do you got going on right now that people can actually connect with you and really learn more about what you do, TikToks, Instagram that they can follow and get a gist of it, and any special gift that you might have to offer to them?
Well, to follow me, I have a Facebook page, Cindy Guidance Divine, and Instagram, TikTok also. So on Instagram, it's Cindy Spiritual Divine and Cindy and Tyler for TikTok. Since we started the adventure, it was my partner and I. Presently, I offer Akashic Records reading. So we were talking about relationship. Well, Akashic Records can help us understand our relationship with ourselves, our past selves, with the people in our lives, our family also. It's a very, very interesting tool. And when you kind of master it, you're also able to look at your future possibilities because future is not something that is in stone.
Mhm.
I also offer a spirit guide communication. Spirit guide communication, I don't want to do more than once with people because it's something everyone is able to do. So I want them to leave with tools to be able to practice and do it themselves. So
Nice.
that's something very important for me because I don't want anyone to be dependent on me for that.
Mhm.
Mediumship readings, it's kind of like what I'm really having fun with presently. It's connecting with the past people. So that's very emotional. And I recently went into a meditation where I was practicing my clair, so visual, feeling, etc. And during the guided session, I was told to go in a very important moment in my life. And you were talking about your sister. I also have a sister that died, I think it's 17, 18 years old, 8 years ago.
Mhm.
I went back in that moment and it was very intense. I almost decided to stop it because I was just crying the whole time and seeing, feeling everything on my perspective. And since it was a projection, I was also able to see what was happening around me. So understanding the feeling of everyone in the room, the dynamic, and what I was not able to see back then. And it allowed me in my mediumship practice to um, remember that grief is a wave. It comes and goes, and you're learning all the time. It's a trauma, losing someone. So it kind of brought back so much compassion and really intense feelings.
Mm.
So mediumship, it's a bit more my thing. Recently, I'm doing almost like every day a session with someone. And I also do tarot readings to help people through guidance and a bit more clarity. So those are this service I offer right now, and they're all very so interesting and helpful. Yeah.
Definitely go check out Cindy. Thank you so much, Cindy, for spending time with us, for educating us. And please
Thank
continue
you.
on this beautiful journey. You're on to the right path of what you need to discover and learn and share with the world. You're full of wisdom and you're super bright, but also with a really good heart. And I think that message of authenticity is definitely a big one, a good reminder for all of
Mhm.
us. The more
Yeah.
you are true to you, the bigger the power gets. It's like it unlocks, I don't know how to describe it. It unlocks a piece of you. I only see like I keep thinking of Sangoku from animation, back in the old days with his superpower. But once you get center into that, you can really unlock so many things that your mind could never really wrap itself around. I will leave you with this last quote. Like, if you have a quote that is so dear to your heart, please share it to the public so that they can also be inspired by you.
I have one, and it's very interesting because it's a quote from someone I practice my Akashic Records reading with. So I went into the Akashic Records to have a conversation with his imprint. So
Hmm.
not him specifically is like actual energy, but the energy of his imprint. And it's Carl Jung. I always
Right
mess
on,
up
yeah.
his name.
Mhm.
And his quote is, "What you resist persists."
Absolutely.
I love it. And I'm the worst one for that quote. It's like I'm resisting everything. So it speaks to me very much.
I don't think you're the only one. So thank you for sharing that. So what you resist persists, and it's so
Yeah.
true. So I use the opposite one. I don't use that one, but I use about flow. So I rarely ever resist. That's why there are times when I have zero filter. I just say whatever downloads to me and I do and I ask things. But I think when you're in that energy of flow or not resisting, it's because you are one with the universe. So
Hmm.
thank you so
I'm
much.
fighting it.
Yeah, you're not fighting it. You're just like, let's see where this go. Let's see where this lead. And when you're on this
Mm,
journey, you don't expecting it always turns out to be more magnificent than you could actually even anticipate it. Thank you so much, Cindy. I love and
thank
adore
you.
you, and I'm wishing you so much success in this. On that note,
Thank
bye
you.
everyone.
Bye.